Loose gadgies, back again. Today, protests, protesting. There's been plenty of it. From protests against Sadiq Khan, and let's be honest. It's been all down south, hasn't it? It's bad. I don't know if... protesting about me down south. I don't... There hasn't been any up here. Has there been anything out and about over where you are? In the northwest?
No, I mean, Manchester will probably get a little bit, depending on what sort of subjects you're talking about. But I think you're right. I think the further north we go, we're just getting on with it, aren't we?
That's what I'm half convinced of, is that when I'm watching the news, none of it is Newcastle city centre. If anything, that's usually students or student doctors or maybe it's part of the strikes or something. But I haven't seen a lot of that either. It all seems to be London centric, and say, oh well, London's a melting pot of. You don't get much of that. The further north you go, the less of it you get. Have you been to Newcastle University? Have you seen the diversity up here? Have you seen how diverse it is across the northeast and northwest, and how we just seem to crack on with it? The other guys down there that seem to make something of it. But all of the news clips I've seen, and I skipped over to a bit of Sky to see, out of curiosity, what's the coverage like on them? What are they attempting to say about it? A bit of Talk TV, a little bit of... I refuse to watch the BBC coverage on anything. I think it's just pollution of the mind. That, and they've been in a lot of trouble lately. So I feel like there's some psychology involved in this, and I couldn't help thinking that, why is that not happening up here? Is it happening up here? It's not, is it? You'd normally see it, you'd normally hear about it. It'd normally, as my dad would say, it'd normally be in the Chronicle.
She's really liar.
I refuse to use that website. It's got more advertisements than news.
Yeah.
You get like a paragraph and then 9 images and then another paragraph. I'm like, what? I don't even know where the news starts and finishes on. Keep sending me links to these articles and I'm not reading it. Just tell us what it was about, because it's just going to spam me browser. So it seems like it's very London centric, and a melting pot suggests that everybody has, or all of the ingredients that are in it have blended together and become a greater whole that are more than the sum of the parts. And I think it's more of a pot of separate ingredients, or maybe not even like a casserole type thing, that there's nothing gelling it together. The moment anything remotely controversial happens, people are out. There's banners on the thing, people are ripping stuff off walls, and they're shouting at each other about... It's not a happy place down there. And look at what they're protesting now. Some of them are shouting all kinds of racist things in the middle of the street. The stuff they've got written on some of their banners, the things that they're calling for and things they're supporting. This is just getting worse. It's getting worse and worse. And it's raising a million other questions. So I'm often confused by some of these actions. Maybe it's just my brain or what. So I thought I'd ask you about this.
I guess
what's it take to be out there on the street like that?
Well, that's the thing. You're protesting to evoke change, or hoping to evoke change.
Yeah, so you're trying to net a positive out of it, I would have thought. That's the motivation, isn't it? That something's wrong, you're not being listened to, so the last thing we can do is to go out on the street and shout about it. If you want to break it down into its simplest form.
So, in terms of the change we're trying to get by protesting, if you take where we are at the moment, there's quite a lot of protesting on different variation of subjects.
There's loads. Yeah.
How do you hope to get change on all of them? It's like, okay, I'm going to protest about this. Well, I'm going to protest about the exact opposite. So One of us cannot win. Then do you ultimately get back to protest ultimately via the general election, which will be next year? Is that the protest?
This has always been my argument that some people are like, well, I'm not voting. Then you can't be in the discussion. That's it. End of story. I'm not talking to you about it. I will talk to you about why you should vote, but I won't talk about anything else. Oh well, no. If you're apathetic about it, why not go along and spoil your ballot paper?
Yeah.
Just write something cheeky on it, or in the box. You've still participated. You've still been there and done your thing. That will actually be read by someone because all of the spoiled papers are verified by the various teams that are there for each party, just to know that it was spoiled, right? And that number is read out as part of the vote count at the head of every ballot in every region. A percentage of people turned out is just a number that's in the corner of the screen during, the vote night coverage that you get. Nobody really talks about it because they expect it to be low. Nobody really focuses on it. They only care about what people actually voted for, or whether they chose to vote or not, spoil their paper or not. That actually gets read out. Can you imagine if 100% of people turned out, but they were all spoiled papers? What message would that send? Versus no one turns up to vote at all. There's zero vote. What would happen then? We'd just have to do it again, and it would just be, oh, why haven't they turned up? If everybody wrote a little message on, chucked that in the box, and did off, so it looked like everyone had voted, but no one had. They just spoiled all the ballot papers. That would be far more of a protest than not rocking up. I don't think you belong in the debate if you decide, well, I'm not voting.
I mean, half the problem is that because we're allowed to in this country, we're up to a point we're allowed to protest. What happens if it becomes so radical that I say, right, okay, it's affecting the economy of the country now. Every Sunday afternoon between 12 and 5, you're allowed to protest on the street on whatever you want. But after 12 and 5, you're not allowed to do it anymore. So you bring your banners out for 5 hours on a Sunday and happy days. But outside of that, you ain't doing it.
Well, there's 2 points that are in my head. One, not one of them has made a difference so far. Not even the strikes have made a difference. Not really. No. They're still going on, and does anyone know that they're still going on? They still are. Some of them are still striking, and we've completely lost interest. We're bored with it. People have changed the way that they get to work, changed the way that they travel about. And so what's next? Do you escalate? Where does that end? Do you get to the point where it goes from protest to riot? I mean, can you remember the riots up here? Around Shields and all that.
Yeah. Oh, you mean there was the Ridges, wasn't it?
The Ridges, yeah. They even had the metros off and everything because it was right up to the metro. I mean, you remember those? I mean, that was back in the day, but there was proper riots there.
Early mid 80s, wasn't it? Mid 80s.
Yeah. So is that the inevitable end? That if you truly are passionate about this protest, you have to continue until it changes, right? And if you see that nothing's changing, you have to escalate, right? That I think that's what you have to accept, that if what you're doing isn't changing anything, that's the definition of insanity, isn't it? Keep doing the same thing and expecting to get a different result. You have to keep changing it up, and that means you have to keep escalating. So if you go out to protest, you have to be willing to stick it out. Otherwise, what was the point in going to the first one?
Well, that's the thing is, are you losing face by not escalating it because you're not winning? And when do you stop? And what defines a win? There is no real answer. You take the rail situation. Is some of it pride because he started a thing and he feels he needs to, pardon my pun, go down the track?
Well, look at what they do in France.
Yeah.
Just about every protest I've seen very quickly escalates. I mean, within days. It starts out with people just marching out on the street, and before you know it, there's tear gas, a lot. Cars burning in the middle of the road. They love it. Love it over there. Anything, I say they love it. They don't stand for now. If they don't want something, they'll let you know about it. And they'll keep doing it until you stop doing the thing that they don't want. And you have to concede something. Here, I'm pretty sure, in terms of strikes and protests, the government's take on this is mostly, it'll go away. It'll die out. Nothing will come of it. Let them have their, but the police need to arrest these for doing this and that. Yeah, I think they're just banking on it sort of petering out. There'll be an initial reaction. The rest of us will disapprove of it, and it'll eventually stop.
And that's the bit, and there's no definition of the common man, but for us that are trying to get to work, do our shopping, drive to certain places to visit relatives, etc., when it starts affecting those people, then I get a little bit miffed off about it, because people throwing themselves in front of car tires because of oil or whatever. But I'm just trying to go and visit my 85-year-old grandmother.
Yeah, what about the ambulance that's 2 cars back?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, we always let those through. Do you?
Yeah.
There's one.
Yeah.
There's one on camera on someone's mobile phone. There it is. Look.
I saw a strange one this afternoon that made me think about oil. There was a guy who was charging his electric car up somewhere, and he worked it out that it was the equivalent of having a Porsche in terms of the fuel price. They're basically being ripped off because of the price of charging the cars up, and it was just like, you're protesting about oil, but we really haven't got the answer yet, so we need to be careful.
Have you seen where all the cobalt and lithium comes from?
Oh,
and
yeah.
the tiny little holes in the ground that they have to dig to get to it, these little seams. And the children are doing it.
Yeah.
I sat and watched some videos on it the other night, and there's just this kid covered, his skin's all green because he's covered in all the dust and the powder and the increased rates of pollution and cancer and God knows what else because of it. But they're like, yeah, but we need money. It might be a pittance. So they just graft it out. We tend to forget all that. But we're not protesting that stuff. No, we're protesting that your filthy, dirty car, you need to be using this battery-powered car. It's much better than your filthy, dirty diesel or petrol car. Let's protest that.
I want to protest that Iron Brew doesn't exist and it shouldn't be there because it doesn't taste of any fruit. What fruit is it?
Yeah, what flavour is it?
Yeah, what flavour is it? We should protest because this has no flavour. It's just, it's not orange, it's not mango, it's nothing. I'm protesting.
What flavour? Yeah, but what flavour is Tizer?
Exactly.
I didn't know what flavour Coke was. It turns out it's some sort of vanilla mix.
Is it? Yeah, good
I
shout.
had a look on the side of the tin. It's some sort of vanilla-y, some non-definable.
And you
weirdly, you can get a vanilla flavoured Coke.
Yeah, we came here in 5 years' time and did the same discussion about protests. Because something completely left field that we never imagined. Why are horses allowed to have a shit in the street? Protesting about that. It's like
I don't get it. I never feel like going out on the street and holding a banner.
No.
I don't know why. I don't know whether it's because I don't want to be out in such a rowdy setting, but there's also the thought that is that the route to go about it? Chaining myself to a thing, standing in the middle of the road. Do you break a law to make a law?
Am I being rude here? But are most of them under the age of just under the age of university or over 65?
Well, they're mostly trust fund kids. It's surprising after a little bit of investigation how many of them have dads that run their own business and they've got 2 Land Rovers in the driveway of their £1 million house. And they can afford to take the time off, or they're being funded by somebody of that ilk to go do it. There's one guy they had on was founder of Just Stop Oil, and it turns out he founded 2 of the others.
Yeah,
like Extinction Rebellion and whatnot. And he defined himself towards the end of the interview as, I'm a professional organizer. I'm a professional protester. This is what I do. I get groups together into organizations, set them up, and then I leave and go to the next one.
Yeah. Well,
what?
It's
not a profession.
Well, basically for somebody it is. Yeah. getting them organised. I saw one. So people are protesting, we have to provide police presence to support, sort of manage it. So one of the stuff I saw on TV this week was people just walking into a co-op on a high street, filling their bags full of food and walking out.
I saw that. He literally, brazen as you like, had this big
Yeah.
bag on the floor and was just emptying the shelf.
Yeah,
What?
and
What?
and basically, police are saying we cannot, or are not able to turn up for them. We cannot do it. We just have.
And if it's under 250 quid, you've got no hope.
Yeah. So, no wonder. I mean, we don't get as much up north, but down south, you go in any Tesco, Morrison, Sainsbury's, little corner shop, and they've all got security on. And unfortunately, they're all 75 and wouldn't stop anybody, but that's a different subject.
Well, even then, they're worried about getting sued
Yeah.
for touching somebody or something. And you know what Rudy Giuliani did in New York?
No.
One of the most successful campaigns ever, apparently, was he said we need to sweat the small stuff. He says we need to investigate every broken window. And so his thought was, if you got rid of all the small ones and worked your way up, the crime overall would lower, because you're picking up every single little thing.
Yeah.
And knowing that everyone's going to get caught, even for the smallest things, you're getting all these petty crimes off the street that it feeds upwards. Or you're going to go to prison for, vandalising that guy's car, or, kicking this guy's window in, or something. And he said it worked. It worked. One of the most successful campaigns of all time in terms of lowering crime. It lowered it across the board. Oh, why don't we do? If we've proved the psychology of that, why aren't we doing something like that? They'll actually go for the petty criminals, and if it is under 250, how about flipping it? We go for every single crime that's under 250 quid, and prosecute all of them and put them in with the big bad guys in prison. See how long they last in there, and all the murders and whatnot.
I don't know. I'd make people scan that credit card or debit card on the way into a shop to prove they're able to be in that shop. Something like that.
It's funny, that's about like one of the Amazon stores. When Amazon Fresh did their own store where you had to basically log into the app on your phone and it would track you walking around the shop. I thought you'd love that stuff, because it's all cameras and what's on what shelf, and there's all sorts of logistics involved into it.
Yeah. So if I'm not scanned into the shop, I'm up to no good, aren't I? So
it's a fair point. Why haven't you scanned your card on the way in? Oh, well, I just came for a look. Oh, well, you still have to scan your card.
That's all right. You still have to scan your card. Just if you leave and don't purchase anything, it's a zero transaction. Yeah. And now you'll get those numpties going on about data protection and freedom of speech, but at the end of the day, we've got, at the minute, because of the price of stuff, we've got a bit of an epidemic of theft going on and protest. Going back to the subject,
and yet, debate always falls on pity or no pity. Oh well, all these people are struggling. Not all of them. Not every beggar on the street is actually homeless. Not every thief is someone who is stealing for a family of 4 because he cannot afford to put food on the not all of them. So, and how do you discriminate? Do you catch them, find out their personal circumstances, and then let them go based on what you find? I mean,
you need to means test the robbers.
This is a means-tested prosecution.
Yes. Yeah.
It's all a bit nut. I don't know if I'll ever get the psychology behind wanting to go out, put something horrific on a banner, and walk through a public street saying this, and then have someone record you doing it, and you're not bothered. Oh, I've got something pretty horrific on this sign right here, and I truly believe in it so much I'm willing to go out in public in front of everyone, be recorded on the news. But there are ways and means. I feel like everything's going to shit.
Yeah,
it was the whole reason behind this episode. I think in the back of my mind was just, I'm worried. I'm worried this place doesn't feel the same anymore, and I'm worried where it's going. And I've spoken to a few ex-coppers and whatnot, and they've said, we're all worried because we're on a bit of a knife edge, and they're sort of half expecting that at some point it's going to snap one way or another. It'll either all stop or there'll be some form of revolution. And you can almost taste it in the air, can't you? You can almost feel it, that it will go one way or the other. It'll either sort itself out or it'll blow up. And genuinely worried. And it seems to be happening not just here, but around the globe. The West is evil, it would seem, to some. Anyway, and correction on the voting. The general election can be as late as December.
Right.
However, they have advised the Prime Minister that because of the 2024 election for President, it would be a security risk if the President and our Prime Minister were both being voted for at the same time. So Parliament's suspended, and
Congress.
The Congress, that's the word, is also suspended. It would be a security risk. So he has to either petition to have it well after, which would mean after January of 25, or he has to have it soon enough before. So it couldn't be the back end of the year, but they still think, well, it could be as late as... It can legally be as late as the back end of next year. So we've got a year's worth of gubbins and promises to listen to, it seems. Well, more than, because it's only just coming up November, isn't it? Right, so... interesting times. Leave some comments, questions. Have you got any worries of your own? I'd love to see those. Maybe we can have a talk about that in some future episodes. But if you liked what you heard, give us a like, give us a follow and a subscribe. And until next time, genuinely, take care.